For our Rec and Eco project, we were out at the Big Hill tract of the AVAC School Forest, and we were creating a road map and installing the road signs. My name is Jillian Lartigue.
I'm Beth Howell.
I'm Jenna Ogletree.
And our stakeholder was Mr. Grant Rentz.
Why are road maps essential? Road maps are living documents. They do not require satellite or signal, so you always know where you're at in reference to where your location is of that tract of land on the property. Road maps are important for the school forest, with it being utilized more often and frequented by staff, professors, students, and visitors. Visitors come to the land to see what we're doing with the land now and what our future purposes to come later on. Students and professors go there for educational purposes and for work details. The roadmap for the Big Hill tract clearly show all identified roads and fire breaks, where the roads end and meet, and if they do or do not connect to another road or fire break.
We had three main objectives with our project. They were to create an accurate roadmap of the Big Hill tract of the John Langdale School Forest, create and construct road signs that identify the roads as well as install them, and create a reliable poster with a map that contains roads that are labeled.
Some tools and equipment that we used to accomplish this project, we used a GPS unit to collect the waypoints of the roads as well as where we put the road signs along the tract. After collecting all the waypoints, we had to use the ArcGIS software here on campus in the YOW building. And after collecting all the data and inputting everything in ArcGIS, we used a flash drive in order to save all the data, and also our flash drive is going to be given to Mr. Grant Rentz so he can use it for future purposes. Out of the school forest, we had to use a UTV to get around on the Big Hill tract. For the actual signs, our signs had already been cut out for us with the proper road names that Mr. Rentz had already picked out. And along with those, we had steel poles, spray paint, washers, nuts, and screws in order to actually construct the signs. After that, we used a sledgehammer, a post hole digger, a shovel, and a piece of wood in order to install the signs.
There are three main points or steps to our project. The first step being collecting the waypoints. The UTV was used to access the Big Hill tract in order to mark waypoints along the roads already on the property, as well as get to fire breaks that were not accessible for a school van or personal vehicle. At every 50 feet, a waypoint was marked using the eTrex 32X GPS, and when it came to the curves and contours of the road, waypoints were marked more frequently at about a 1 foot interval. Once these waypoints were marked, we then went to the lab here at the YOW, where we were on the ArcGIS software program in order to download those waypoints, in order to create a new feature for us to connect those waypoints and create our roads. Once we were able to create those roads, we made a new layout, exported that, and then printed it out for our stakeholder in order for him to look over it, see if we need to make any changes and approve it. We did have to make one change, which was to remove one road in the back of the property, but once that was complete, we were ready to move on to step 2, which is assembling the road signs.
As Beth mentioned, step 2 is painting and constructing of the actual signs. Also, like I said earlier, our signs had already been cut out with the proper names. All we had to do was actually spray paint them and put them together. This process took about 2 days. There were 3 parts of the sign: the innermost part, which we ended up painting yellow, and then the 2 outer layers, which were the actual names of the roads, we painted those green. The signs were, again, already named and professionally etched for us. Our stakeholder allowed us to pick which names we wanted to put on the Big Hill tract, with the exception of a few that he requested us name. There were a total of 7 signs we used for our tract.
Step 3 was the installation of the signs, and this was a 2-day process. We contacted our stakeholder, Mr. Rentz, ahead of time, just to decide a good time and date to go out there, just so it didn't conflict with his schedule or our schedules. Our first step was to go out to the shop on the Willis Steel track and load our tools and the constructed signs into the UTV to take to the Big Hill track. These tools consisted of the sledgehammer, piece of wood, a post hole digger, and a shovel. Once we were out there, Mr. Rentz was able to tell us where he wanted the signs to be installed, just so the signs would be able to be seen from the road and the roads were clearly marked. Once we knew where to place the signs, we did a couple methods. The first one we tried to use the post hole digger and a shovel, and that worked, but it seemed to take a little more time than we wanted it to. So we switched over to the sledgehammer and we laid a piece of wood on top of the poles just to protect them, and we hammered it in about a foot into the ground so the posts were about 5 feet 8 inches high, just so they were stable. Anyway, one issue we had was pine tree roots. When we tried to sledgehammer it, some pine tree roots got in the way. If they did, we tried to break them up with the shovel. If not, if we couldn't break them up with the shovel, we just tried to find a space in between the pine tree roots, or we tried to find a place like void of roots. And we, at each sign, we took a waypoint in the GPS and we labeled it in the GPS. So when we put it into ArcGIS, the roads were already labeled, so there wouldn't be any confusion.
Step 4 was actually creating the map on ArcGIS. Like Jenna said, they had put in the points of the signs where the signs actually were on the property, and they already named them. So when we brought those points in, they were kind of already labeled. Mr. Rentz did request that we work with the other 2 groups that were assigned the other 2 tracts of the school forest, just so our maps all looked similar and all were uniform in style, color, everything. So after discussing with them, we were each able to assess what color we should make the roads, what color the outline of the property boundary should be, and what symbol was going to represent the road signs. Since we already had the rough draft of the map, all we had to do was make a few changes. And I think that was pretty much it. We went into the attribute table of each road and actually ended up labeling which road was which, and we were able to label the roads on the map.
Some of the problems and challenges we did face was, one, the aligning of our schedules. Believe it or not, we have busy lives outside the owl. Between work and even school or some side jobs, it took some time to manage our own schedules for this project, but here we are at the end and we got it completed. Another thing we ran into was weather. For the week that we had the thunderstorms, we were installing the road signs. On the first day, we were able to get up at least 2. However, on the third one, that's when the storm fully hit and we were advised to load everything up and to head back to the shop. There, we were able to discuss with our stakeholders some changes that they wanted to make on the actual property itself regarding the road signs. There was a few changes from the original names to some new ones. And once we came out the second day, we were able to install those new signs. Another thing, as she had mentioned previously, was the installation of the signs when it came to the tree roots. A big thing they wanted us to make sure of is that it was out of the way from the tractors, but still in a spot where it could be seen from the roads when people are driving on them, but tree roots were our biggest issue.
Just a summary, we're all going to kind of go over this one. We created the first ever roadmap for the Big Hill tract of the AVAC School Forest. Super exciting. We hope that years to come, the signs will be taken care of and they won't be destroyed anytime soon. Hopefully no trees fall on them.
Yeah. And then it gave us opportunities to build communication and collaboration skills, not only with each other, but with our stakeholder, Mr. Rentz. This would help us in our future job professions when we have to talk to, like these 2 are law majors, like when they have to talk to either citizens or someone else, or like,
yeah, I think this has really helped us build some skills, but also benefit from this, because this could be looking good in the future for us if we need to work on something else like this project. It kind of helps us connect with some of our staff members here, but kind of gets our name out there of that we did this for future classes to come, and hopefully they'll be able to take over what we started and take care of this for us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.